there, welcome to Why 5% Succeed. This is the show where you're discovering how 5% of businesses really have it all. They've got great clients, fulfilling work, record compensation, and you can have that too. Frankly, if you can see it, you can be it. We're going to share really cool tactics, techniques, tips, and tools that can further your success. This is what the best of the best do to grow their businesses, and you can do the exact same thing. I'm your host, Elaine Starling. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for Starling Media Services. We're a boutique marketing firm helping purpose-driven women entrepreneurs become legacy leaders. I have a huge passion for helping people succeed. That's why I wrote the book, Why 5% Succeed, and why I do this show. I want to make sure that the information you need to transform your business is at your fingertips where you can grab it and go. Well, I'm so delighted to introduce you to today's guest. His name is Ray Stendall, and he's the founder and publisher of Customer Engagement Magazine. Ray is just fabulous because he really understands small business and our challenges with automating customer engagement. You know, it's such a competitive marketplace right now. Customer engagement has never been more important than right now. When there are so many people out there who do something kind of similar to you, you've got to be able to differentiate yourself, but still stay heart-centered and really connect with your prospects. Well, as a certified Infusionsoft consultant, Ray has a burning desire to help small businesses drive profitable growth. He's an expert at automating sales and marketing processes, so you still connect with your prospects and clients in a really deep and meaningful way, in a way that makes a difference for you and for them. Now, automating customer engagement can be very confusing. It can be really frustrating. My hair used to be a lot longer before I started trying to do this, which is why I'm so happy Ray's with us here today, because he's so adept at making the complex really simple and easy to understand so you can make some fast decisions and get in action. In my opinion, there is nothing worse than being stuck dithering, trying to make a decision and just not knowing what to do. Well, Ray won't let us stay there. He's so good at helping us understand how this whole thing works so we can leverage it, take advantage, and really be in action. Ray, I'm so happy you're here today.
Elaine, thanks so much for having me on the program. So happy to be here with you and your audience. I think we're going to have a lot of fun covering some very important information that can really help businesses succeed.
Thank you. You know, there's a lot of questions people have about automating customer engagement. And I have to ask the question, how big a difference does this make for your business? How important is this really for a small business owner in particular?
Well, it's a great question. And when we think about customer engagement, we really need to consider it from a few perspectives. The first part is, how do we actually go about attaining and acquiring a customer in a profitable manner? And then how do we go about keeping the customer happy and becoming a brand advocate? So to me, everything that we're going to talk about really centers around how do you operationalize putting your customer at the center of all of your business decisions as you build, market, sell, and support a solution. And part of that can be automated, part of it can't be. But the interesting thing is to take a look at how do we go about doing this in a way that adds a lot of value to customers and prospects so that they want to work with you because you're helping them make an informed buying decision.
That's such an important point. Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I think so often people make the mistake of thinking that sales and marketing is this horrible, pushy thing, and it's not. What you're talking about is truly being present for people to understand their challenges and help them solve their problems. Thank you for articulating that for us. That's an important distinction.
If we want to go a little deeper into the question that you asked, we can basically break it down into, there's certain key benefits. Number one, as small business owners, you have a million things to do with limited resources, limited employees that are available to take care of your prospects and your customers. So you need to find a way to gain leverage. So gaining leverage is the first point that I'd recommend people write down for why you should consider automating sales and marketing processes and some of your engagement with your list, with your customers, and so forth. Another key point you might want to consider is a business is just dead in the water if it doesn't have leads. And everybody knows that, but what a lot of companies I see making mistakes doing is not going about collecting and harvesting leads in a proper manner. Just to give you an example, one of the niches that I work within is a residential solar market. And you'd be surprised how many residential solar companies simply have a page which they consider to be a lead magnet, which is put your name and email address to get a free quote. That's a pretty high level of commitment for somebody to jump towards. It would be much better if they said, put in your name and email address to get a buying guide so you avoid the 11 top mistakes most residential homeowners make when buying a solar system. So these types of ideas can be very helpful, combined with allowing the business owner to lead with being a thought expert, with expert positioning. Because everything else being equal, wouldn't you rather like to do business with somebody who is the best at what they do, is an expert? And that's a point of differentiation, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That's a vital point of differentiation. That's what it's all about.
Now, one of the ideas that we talk about is about contingency marketing. Contingency marketing is an important idea that I think business owners really need to embrace. It's all about thinking about all the contingencies that you need to deploy in case your prospect doesn't do what you want them to do. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose that you are deciding to talk to a group of individuals through a webinar model. If you're going to do that, then you have to first invite somebody to come to the webinar. So make the contingency. What if they don't open your first email? What are you going to do? Are you going to send a reminder message? Are you going to send 2 reminder messages? And then your next step is you want them to register for the program. If they don't register for the program, what are you going to do? If they do register for the program, but they don't stay for the whole program, and perhaps at the end of the program is when you have an offer, what are you going to do? If they do stay for the whole offer, but they don't buy, what are you going to do? So the idea is to have an answer to the different steps within a campaign and a funnel so that you address the people who are not going along the trajectory that you want them to go to in order for you to be able to help them make a smart buying decision, decide to work with you, and ultimately for you to provide the value to them. And this idea is something that can immediately allow you to break out and compete against many other companies, because most people just focus on the brand promise and focus on the people that say yes, but they don't follow up and follow through with all the people who have said no along the way to convert them to become new customers.
That is so true. And Ray, all of the research shows that people don't actually make a decision until they've heard from you 8 or 9 times. It takes that long to develop a relationship and develop rapport. So it's important to have that infrastructure in place to reassure people and guide them and provide support and help along the way. Like you said, it really positions you as that expert advisor and somebody who's not out there with a handout, you're there with a hand up. You're really trying to help people accomplish what they want. That is brilliant. And I really love what you're doing, because it doesn't matter where you are in the relationship. One of the projects that I'm working on right now is following up with people that I've met over the years. And maybe I haven't been all that good at staying in touch. You know, life gets busy. What are some examples of things that you've worked on with people? Contingency is a part of it, but there's so many different aspects to the whole customer engagement process.
So one example is my good friend and client, Dr. Tony Alessandra. He's a Hall of Fame speaker. He's been speaking to large companies worldwide for 30 years, and he's built a really nice brand for his business in the behavioral, in this area of behavioral dynamics, really understanding why people do what they do and how to better interrelate and connect with them. So in his case, he had a pretty large database, 140,000 plus people on his database. And what he needed to do is to go through a process of cleaning the database, because some people may have moved or changed email addresses, and ultimately get to the point where he can engage with them to start to build more rapport and trust, because he wasn't really connecting with them over a longer period of time, because he collected these names over a decade. So we built a campaign where we gave away a ton of value, like quite honestly, $188 worth of value that he sells every day through his shopping cart, We gave away a DVD that was streamed online, an assessment, some special reports. And we did all of this to reignite his list, to re-engage them so that they would be interested in his future offers and be interested in what he has to do, what he's offering. And as part of considering contingency marketing, in this particular case, when we would send some content to his list, if somebody did click on the link to look at the content, we would then follow up and ask them what they thought of it. And we would continue the dialogue with more value. If they didn't click on the link, we would send them a gentle reminder to encourage them to click on the link. And as a result of doing over 3 content drops, we ultimately funneled them into a long-term nurture campaign, because the mistake he had made in the past and was determined not to make again was not staying in touch. So now they hear from him every week. And in each of the messages he shares, he provides more value, but he also relates that to products that he sells and brings people back to his site, back to his shopping cart. And this is now running all on autopilot. So anybody who's brand new that wants to learn about one aspect of his business that relates to the DISC program goes through this campaign and gets a ton of value and really gets to know more about Tony and his company and how they can help him.
That is great. That is great. And that's exactly what I'm working on right now. So, boy, talk about timely. I want to move on because certainly for someone who is getting started, it can be a bit intimidating. But the thing I want to reassure everybody who's watching this, you can't grow what you don't know. So just getting started somewhere, even if your list is 0 and you're trying to just get things moving, that's okay. Start where you are, that connection to your prospects, to your relationships, and grow them into becoming clients and brand advocates for you by using that automated customer engagement process. Now, in order to start that kind of a process, Ray, what sorts of things do we have to have ready to go? What do we need to know before we make the call to talk to someone like you?
Now, one of the things that's really powerful, and I recommend everybody grab a pen and paper and do this exercise with me as I describe it, is to be really clear on what your sales process looks like. So let's imagine that the end goal is to help a customer make a purchasing decision. So you're going to collect some money from them. What immediately must happen before they can provide money to you? Well, if they're going to be buying online, that means they have to get to a shopping cart. They have to get to a shopping cart. What's the immediate step before getting to a shopping cart? They need to get to a sales page. What's the immediate step before getting to a sales page? They're going to need to know about that sales page, which will come from some form of perhaps an email marketing, or it could come from a direct letter that's sent to them, direct mail. And then you might ask yourself, what's the immediate step before that? And that might be some type of presentation of what is for sale. And what's the immediate step before that? Perhaps you're going to share a case study of somebody who you were able to help, to have some social proof that you know what you're doing. And then what would be the step before that? Perhaps you demonstrate to them what your product or service does to give them an understanding of how it can add value to them. And then what would be the step before that? Letting them know that there's an opportunity to solve a problem that is of grave importance to them, that can allow them to improve their life and their business without doing a lot of hard work that is going to necessarily bog them down. Now, don't get me wrong, hard work's important, but from a sales and marketing standpoint, part of what we're trying to do is to make life easier. So we need to communicate how our value proposition is making life easier, to give them more time, give them a higher return on their time, and help them be a little bit more organized. So in what I've just done for you, I have gone backwards from getting the money all the way through to a point where we are sharing an opportunity. But you can even go further back than that. How are you going to share an opportunity with somebody if you don't have them in your email database, if you don't have their contact information, which means they're going to need to provide that to you. And in the process of providing that to you, they're going to have to learn about you, which means they're going to have to be reading your blog posts, looking at paid advertising, something you need to use to get them to go from where they are, whether it's through a referral, through advertising, through content, to come to a point where they're willing to give you their name and email address so that you can then begin the process of building trust and rapport. So my first recommendation, before we talk about a few other specific things, is build out the process end to end. And then what you want to do after you build out this process is look for what I call engagement points. An engagement point, for example, is when somebody downloads your special report, downloads a case study, a checklist. It shows that they raise their hand a little bit to say that I'm engaged, I'm kind of interested in what you're doing. And then ask yourself, how can I follow up with them in a way that builds momentum on that engagement? If they don't pass through an engagement point, your next job is coming back to contingency marketing. What can I do to provide to them now to bring them back to the track that I'd like to take them on? You have to be the leader, the Sherpa, in bringing them through a sales process that integrates sales and marketing together. And can I go a little further and share a couple more ideas?
Please, yeah, this is great.
So as part of this, and you know, I meet a lot of business owners, and I share with them that you really need to understand your target customer. And I know that has been said for years and years and years. But the reality is that if you're not able to clearly identify and recognize them on the street, because you've taken the time to specify their demographics, their age, their sex, their education, their likes and dislikes, their passions, their fears, their frustrations, what keeps them up at night, what they secretly hope to desire and to happen in their business. And now this is more on the psychographic piece of things. You don't have enough intel to be able to communicate through all your copywriting, all your emails, the way you position your offer on your website, because you don't know your customer well enough. Every customer in every segment has a certain type of language that they use, has a certain set of beliefs that they believe about themselves, that they believe about the market, that they believe about a potential solution provider like you. And the big job that you have is to get inside the head of your customer and show to them that you understand them, so that they can begin the process of wanting to learn more from you, because they see that you're engaged and really trying to help them solve their problems. So doing all of this together with understanding their buying process and some of these key emotional trigger points is important. And of course, doing all of this by yourself can be a little bit daunting, and that's why you should work with somebody who can help navigate you through this process as well if you need to.
That is so fabulous. Thank you for sharing that with us, Ray. I've been taking all kinds of notes. I've flipped a few pages here because I was writing as fast as I could. This is great information, and it's what we all know we're supposed to do. And sometimes it's very challenging when you're right there in the thick of it, trying to figure it out for your own business. It can be a little overwhelming. So thank you for breaking it down and making it very concrete.
I'd like to give your audience a gift. I have a certain formula that they can apply right away to get immediate value after this call. And here's the formula. First question is, do you know what your value proposition is, and are you able to uniquely articulate your value to others? And many times when I ask this question, the types of answers I get back are not as articulate as they really need to be. So here's the formula. The formula is, we help A do B so they can C without D. Don't worry, I'll take you back through all of this. So we help A. A represents who you help, your target demographic, your customer, your segment. Do B, what it is that they want to accomplish, because they are interested in the results you can deliver. They buy the hole in the wall, as they say. They're not buying the drill to make the hole. Mm-hmm. So we help A do B so they can C. The C represents the ultimate benefit of why they are interested in doing what it is that we've just talked about. So it's the big benefit behind doing this. Again, we help A do B so they can C without D. D is all the pain, the frustration, the hassle, the headache, all the things that they just don't want to do. You know, if to give you a nice example, if it was theoretically possible, it would be something like, I can give you a tangible example here. We help 40-year-old men lose weight without doing any exercise and eating right, so that they can enjoy youth. Right now, wouldn't that be great? Guys could get fit and trim without exercise, without eating right, right? That would be nice. Now, I admit that's not practical and that's not responsible. But if you think about it in a business, let's say you're a dentist. We help people with toothaches, right? We help people with toothaches improve their oral hygiene and make their teeth straight. Or let's say this: we help dentists. We help patients with misaligned teeth have beautiful smiles so that they can be confident in pictures that they take with their family. You see how we lay those together? We talked about who we help, so forth. Let's continue the formula. We help A do B so they can C without D, D being the pain that nobody wants to really go through, okay? And then what we say is the next part of the value proposition is we accomplish this through E, F, and G. E, F, and G represents the key features of how you do what you do. How you do what you do. And then the last piece of the formula is, unlike our competitors, we offer, and this is just the next three letters of the alphabet here, 1, 2, and 3. So let me say the formula again. We help A do B so they can C without D. We do this through E, F, G. We're different than our competitors because of H, I, and J. So now when you are able to articulate this formula, you have not only told the person in your market who you serve, what you do, what the benefit is, why they should consider you because you help them avoid a certain pain. You've taken the level, you've peeled the onion, you've gone one level deeper, and you've talked about how you accomplish what you do, because there is going to be this natural question, how do you do what you do? And you've told them how you're different, and everybody wants to know how you stand out.
That is fabulous, Ray. I am going to put you on the spot and have you share your unique proposition here with us. I want you to do it like you're fresh and new, we just met. Tell me about Ray.
All right, so I'll break it down for you as well. So we help small business owners automate their sales and marketing processes so that they can connect with their customers and their prospects without all the hassles of manual follow-up. We do this through an integrated solution that is made up of customer relationship management, sales automation, marketing automation, and e-commerce. We are different than our competitors because we have an integrated solution that operates with a wide ecosystem of partners, which represent software consultants that can bring together customized solutions. And we scale tremendously. Last year, we sent over 5.2 billion emails using the system to connect with prospects, to connect with customers, and are able to modify the way we communicate based on behavioral dynamics, which we talked about from a contingency marketing standpoint, when we talked about it from a perspective of looking at engagement points, which we talked about earlier on today.
That's great. That is brilliant. You really know your stuff, Ray. I'm so psyched. So is it really difficult? Is it challenging for somebody like a small business owner to integrate and automate their sales and marketing process? Or is this something that's kind of a no-brainer?
Well, this is going to depend on the nature of the business and how much work really needs to get done. I mean, one of the things I do with my clients is we go through an assessment where we look at the systems and the processes, how you go about attracting new clients, converting new clients, and ultimately wowing customers to have an amazing experience. But to help provide a little bit of guidance in this area, it really comes down to figuring out what the needs are of the organization. In some cases, organizations are simply not collecting leads. And if they are collecting leads, they're not following up with leads to be able to get to the point where you can have meaningful conversations that lead to purchasing decisions. I mean, this is not just about online marketing. It's about using technology in a way that helps you provide value and filter out the people who are not the most engaged and the ideal prospect for you, to bring the people right to the top. It's like bubbling right to the top to identify who you want to spend the most of your time with, whether it's your sales team that's working with these leads or you personally are working with these leads. You need to make sure that you're bringing the right people together. So a big part of what we've been talking about is having a well-defined sales process, and based on what your needs are, being able to plug those holes. So in one example, if you don't have a way of collecting leads, then that certainly needs to be where the focus is. If you are collecting leads, but you are having standardized follow-up where everybody gets the same message, doesn't matter what they do, then maybe that's an area to look at. Or if you are doing the front end pretty well and you're converting leads, but maybe you're getting bad reviews, or you're not getting any reviews, no testimonials, no reviews, you're not getting a lot of new referrals, then maybe that's the area to focus on. So, but the key here is starting from the point of looking at understanding where you're strong, where you're weak across a process, an integrated process. And I'd like to ask everyone who's listening to us to consider a few questions, and you will see where I'm going with this. Write down what percentage of good leads buy right away each month based on what it is that you sell. Go ahead, write down this number, whatever that number is. What percentage of good leads buy right away each month? So this then leaves us with a pretty good number of people who don't buy. Now, if you could communicate with them over a longer period of time and add more value, what percentage of them do you think could become new customers? What percentage?
That's a really great question. And so, generally speaking, there's about 10% of people who are ready to take action in the marketplace. So out of your leads, I would say right off the top, you might have 5 to 10%. And if you nurture people for a little while, you could get another 5 to 10%. That's a really decent number.
So let's use some round numbers here. Let's suppose we're dealing with 100 leads. So if we're dealing with 100 leads, and let's suppose that right away, 10% of those leads buy right away. So we get 10 people, we take them off the table, they have purchased. So we have 90 people left over. And if we're going to apply what you've mentioned of, let's say, 10% of those buy, let's say over the longer period of time, 10% times 90, that's 9, that's another 9. Now, interesting thing, did we just notice here, we just doubled the amount, we almost doubled it, right? We went from 10 to 19. We almost doubled the number of customers because we are starting to consider long-term follow-up, contingency marketing, some of these key ideas. Now let's continue on. What is the average customer worth to you? Now I want you to consider this. There is a simple answer, which is the first transaction. But you want to go a little step further. You can look at the lifetime value of this customer as an entity. And then you can even consider if they are happy and they refer you business, those referrals that now you're dealing with practically a zero cost of customer acquisition, how much is that business worth to you? But for now, just to keep this rather conservative, let's just write down what one customer is worth to you over the course of, let's say, 1 year.
Okay.
So now we have the number of people that brought right away, the number of people that would buy if we followed up a little bit better. We've written out what the average customer deal is worth. And you know, perhaps I should consider it over the course of a month, because we are, my next question to you is to say, how much revenue could you then capture if you followed up others? So if we took basically those 9 customers that you get, like if you get 100 leads every month and there is 9 of them that we could follow up with better, 9 times the potential new customer revenue that we're dealing with, gives you an answer. Now you might say back to me, well, Ray, it might take me longer than a month to make that happen. And that's fine. At the end of the day, we're trying to prove a point. And the point is that most people are leaving a tremendous amount of money on the table because they're not following up. And if you can consider what follow-up could do to increase your monthly increase in revenue, and then change that to an annual number times 12, and then consider the multiplier effect based on treating customers properly. Because here's a great example. Most companies, when they have new customers come on board, they don't have a new customer campaign. Every new customer needs a customer campaign that helps them understand what's the process that's going to happen moving forward and what they can expect, and be able to touch base with them, collect feedback, collect testimonials, referrals, case studies, survey them in this process, and for those that are not happy, proactively reach out so they don't make a mess online talking about how bad their service was with you, which can create a lot of problems for an organization.
Ray, this is fabulous. This is really what we all need to be thinking about, because you're absolutely right. People are leaving a lot of money on the table simply because they don't know how to leverage what they've already got. There is nothing more powerful. There are 3 different ways to make more money, okay, or improve your profitability. 1 is make more money, 2 is save more money, and 3 is keep more money. And what you're talking about is you've already invested the money, you've already invested the time to get those leads in the door. So you've already made the expense, the investment. Now, if all you do is add in this automated customer engagement process, you are easily doubling the results that you get automatically. Probably better than double. And yes, I get what you're saying. It is a cumulative process because, again, it takes 8 or 9 times of someone experiencing you to really feel like they know, like, and trust you and they're ready to take action. And timing enters into it too. But I love what you're talking about. So, okay, I'm totally committed. I get that this is a priority for business. How long does it take to set up this type of automated customer engagement process?
That's a great question, and many times it's going to depend on really what the types of requirements we're dealing with. But if we're dealing with somebody who has a relatively straightforward type of a campaign, it can be done very quickly inside of a week or 2 with the right kind of content. But I have to tell you, there's a few key components that are necessary for a campaign to operate. Number 1 is you have to have the right messages to share inside of the email, so they need to be written up. Number 2, you need to have, if you're going to be sharing content, you have to have the content that you've created that you're going to share. Mm-hmm. And this content typically is going to live on some type of a web page somewhere. So you're going to need to have a web page to share this content. And then number 4, you need to have the, let's call it the programming, the marketing programming, the fancy stuff that basically decides what message gets shared with which person and under what conditions. So when you consider these components together, if you have a simple type of a business where you just want to, I'll give you, here's a very straightforward campaign I'll share with everybody. One of the campaigns I like to do is called an indoctrination campaign. Well, what is an indoctrination campaign? Well, it's meant to mimic what happens when you meet somebody, for example, at a cocktail party. When you meet somebody at a cocktail party, there's a little bit of exchange that takes place where the person you're meeting gets to know a little bit about who you are, and perhaps, depending on the level of depth of conversation, what you stand for, what you stand against, what they can expect of you. Now, from a business's standpoint, many times somebody may opt into an offer on a web page, and the business then just simply provides that offer, whether it's a coupon or a special report, what have you. But there's an opportunity for somebody who's brand new joining your community. And I really want business owners to think about this. Building a community around what you do, with you as a thought expert leading that community, as the leader, as the Sherpa for your community, is critical. So when somebody joins your community, one of the first things that you can do is you can decide, is this somebody brand new that's part of my list in my database, or are they not brand new? If they are not brand new, then it means they need to be indoctrinated. And when we indoctrinate, the first thing we need to do is send them a welcome message that welcomes them to the family. Lets them know a few things about yourself in terms of how often you're going to be mailing them, what to white label your email so it doesn't go to spam, to follow you on Twitter, follow you on Facebook, to join your community or your group on LinkedIn. So they have different points of engaging with you. And you might also have the address of your business, your hours of operation, key people that they can reach out to and connect with, so that they have some context for who you are. And then once that happens, the next day you might send them an email which is called the Best Of series. And in the Best Of series, you would share certain blog posts that you have done in the past that you're really proud of, pieces of content that can really help the user. let's take an example and use a CrossFit gym, which is basically a place where people go to get physically fit in a fun and challenging environment. So in this example, the welcome email might be a little bit about the gym and where their location is, who some of the instructors are, etc. Might explain to them to whitelist the email, tell them to bounce them around to the Facebook page, the Twitter page, to get them to connect with you, which is also a point of assuming authority when you start expecting people to travel to different places with you. Step number two, and email number two would be an email that shares some content. Perhaps you share the best form for doing a bench press, best form for doing a pull-up, a push-up, things that are added value to the person who's interested in joining your gym. And then in the third email, you might send something that is a bonding email. These are the things that we stand for and we stand against. And the reason we do this is because we want to be magnetic to our ideal prospect, and we want to be repulsive to the people we don't want to work with. And when you show what you stand for and stand against, you basically accomplish both objectives at the same time, because you want to discourage people from wasting your time if they are truly not your ideal prospect, because it takes time, money, and energy to go through lead qualification. So right from the beginning, let people know who you want to serve and how you serve them well. So this type of a campaign should run at the same time as when they deliver your lead or opt-in process, your lead magnet. And that's just running for a couple days concurrently for three or so days. So that's an example.
Wow, you have so much to share with us, Ray. I'm really delighted that you can be here for us. And I got to ask, you make it sound really simple. What kind of an investment should we be prepared to make to have this kind of automated customer engagement process available for our small businesses?
So the range of pricing ranges between $200 and $400 a month. The typical project, the typical amount is around $300. $200 to $300 is really what's needed in terms of using software in an intelligent manner. But what you get to do is you get to replace a bunch of stuff you're already probably spending money on. So for example, if you already have an email solution, whether it's Aweber, Constant Contact, iContact, Vertical Response, MailChimp, etc., you can replace that. If you already have a customer relationship management solution to keep track of all your contacts, especially if you go to trade shows and you're meeting all kinds of people from all over the place, whether they are prospects, customers, partners, these are all relationships that need to be managed, you can replace it. If you have a shopping cart that you use to collect money online, you can replace it. If you have a system that helps you manage the sales process from a pipeline standpoint, you can replace it. So you can replace a lot of components and be able to have everything integrated into one type of a solution. And that's basically on the software side. From a consulting and a services standpoint, it's really going to depend on the requirements and what you need to get accomplished.
Wow, so much to think about. And it's really reassuring to know that there are some fabulous tools out there that the best of the best are using that are available to us, that we can put in place in our businesses and see some dramatic results. And I love the fact that this is leveraging what you already have. You already took the time to capture these leads. And now you want a way to really increase that connection, improve that relationship, and add value. Ultimately, they hopefully will purchase from you, but even if they don't, if they love you, they'll refer you on to other people because you were so valuable and so helpful. Ray, are there any other things that we really need to know? Is there something I forgot to ask you that you'd like to share with the audience today?
Well, I think one of the things we had talked about before the interview is really the question about how quickly does a system like this pay for itself? And one of the things I like to suggest here is one of the fastest ways to generate revenue is to have a time-limited sale that provides a little bit of urgency to get people who are on the fence from doing business with you to decide to work with you. And I'm willing to bet that depending on the customer set that our audience members have and the list that they're working with, there are individuals on that list with a little bit of creativity based on some marketing programs where we could perhaps share with them a really compelling offer share with them what it's going to do for them, and ultimately what we want them to do next, which is to engage with us and either set up a meeting, to make a purchasing decision, or to buy online would buy. So creating a flash sale type of a campaign in many ways can be used to pay for much of the work that is being done. Because if you're not following up and following through, quite honestly, you're leaving opportunity on the table.
Wow, this was really fabulous. I gotta thank you, Ray, for providing some really valuable, actionable steps that we can take right now to automate customer engagement. And I loved your formula on how to explain what your unique value is. That is so priceless. Now, if anybody has questions for Ray or for me, feel free to post your questions and we'll get back to you with more information. I really appreciate you being a part of the show today, and this is Elaine Starling. I'm wishing you all kinds of excellence, abundance, and fulfillment in all you do. I'll see you next time.